Welcome to football, and it's great to be back with everybody. It always seems like a long off season, and to be back here now, embarking on practice number 3 and finally putting shoulder pads on today. You probably sensed it from our guys when you visited with them a few minutes ago. I think you can tell the attitude and the excitement from the squad. A couple things that Paul alluded to, I'll mention in my opening statement, but I want to start with our tradition of jersey number 1 and Max Chapman. Incredibly proud of Max, and we had a little bit of a change this year in how we went about rewarding and that jersey being earned. We typically had the staff put together a list of names, and then we as a staff kind of voted who we thought earned that jersey, representing everything it means to be a Wildcat. This year we asked the Leadership Council to give us also a list of names. There were a lot of similar names, but they added a couple of names to the list, and then I turned that over to the Leadership Council for them to decide who jersey number 1 would be this year, and have Max represent that jersey and the tradition that we started a few years ago. Incredibly proud of him, and look forward to him having a great season. From the injury standpoint, disappointed for Sean. I mean, he's been through so much. We probably knew, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, maybe towards the end of the summer, had a little bit of a break, and Sean, as he came back, wrapped things up, and it just wasn't going to get to a point where he felt like he could be at a place to be competitive, and we looked at it from a short-term standpoint and also, more importantly, a long-term standpoint. And when he decided to move forward, obviously we fully supported him. And you always hate to see football taken away from someone, out of their control, and he's handled it great. He looks awfully metrosexual now. I mean, he is skinny. He looks great. Going through the Kellogg program right now, which is unbelievable. I mean, that's why you choose a school like Northwestern. He's prepared for life. He's going to get his master's from the Kellogg school. He's got an unbelievably bright future, and look forward to him donating to the program when Jack, Ryan, and Brendan are here playing. Matt Frazier, we hope to have back at some point. We're not going to put a timetable on that, but unfortunately, I had a staph infection this summer, and anytime you have those types of issues, it's obviously very scary, a lot of unknown. We went through the whole gamut of what could have been the cause, from hygiene in the locker room, all those things. We checked off all those areas, and again, that's the tough part when you go through something like that. There's really no known cause. We just had to deal with the effects of it. He's gained most of his weight back now. He looks great, but he'll definitely be out for the opener. And we hope to have some more clarity on where things are at towards the end of camp. I'm not going to share anything with you until I have it. Okay, I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to put any timetables on that. But as of right now, from the medical staff's standpoint, we expect him to be back, and we'll work through that. Kind of week by week and see how things are there. Quarterback situation, I think for the first couple days, the guys have all three have done well. I heard Deontay talked about TJ. I don't know who he spoke to about that, but defense is having fun with our freshmen, him and Lloyd. But at the end of the day, I think we'll work through that process and have a decision when it's right. And it's not for today. Because all three guys, again, are doing a great job. But it's a certain point we'll make a decision. And if I can make that announcement publicly, I will. I think that's good for the quarterback. I think it's good for the team. But if it rolls through kind of a date that we've set in our minds on where it's at, then maybe there's a competitive advantage that I don't. And so I reserve the right to keep any competitive advantage I can. But we'll see where that goes, and that will play out. I'm excited about what I've seen from our young groups, the true freshmen that were here all summer. That group came in, I think, in fairly good shape from a standpoint of being high school kids and never going through, any college workouts before. And I thought the 6 weeks that they were here have prepared them to compete in camp. I can answer specific questions as we move forward to the Q&A about some guys. But, we've been in shorts. I think Chris Collins has had 18 practices with his guys this summer by NCAA rule. We've had 2. So Chris knows a lot more about his freshmen than I do, and I'll know a lot more today. So as we move forward, I'll probably be able to answer some more questions about those guys once the contact gets a part of the game. I mean, right now they were just running around in shorts, kind of like the combines and stuff they went through in high school. But I like the group collectively, and I also like that redshirt freshman class. So looking forward to seeing how they are when pads when somebody hits them back here. And then I think we've had a really good offseason. January through June are some neat little factoids I'll give you. We've gained 410 pounds of lean muscle mass, and we've lost 369 pounds of fat. And it's just in the coaching staff. No, but the guys have done a terrific job. And what I'm most seeing everything evolve in the student athlete experience. We've been able to feed our guys a little over 8,700 training table meals since January. And you go back to when I was playing, and to see the difference in the way things are improving, it's obviously a credit to our great dietitian, Katie Knappenberg, and to our great staff and chef up at Training Table, and just the continual job that we do, from a standpoint of being able to make that kind of statement. I mean, that kind of weight gain and weight loss, that's significant. And, I think I made this announcement at the kickoff. Jay had just sent it to me because we wrapped up our workouts in the summer, but we had 300-plus personal records this summer in the weight room. So our guys have done a terrific job. Attitude's in a great spot. I think that the work ethic from January through last night's practice was terrific. And now we're going to put pads on and see where we're at. And, we'll evolve through the process as we go, kind of one day at a time here moving forward. So, again, appreciate everybody being here, excited about 2015. And how about some questions, please?
We've got microphone holders on both sides of the room, so if you'd like to ask a question for the benefit of the cameras that are plugged into the mouth box, please get their attention.
Hi, Pat. How are you?
Great, JR.
As far as your quarterback situation is concerned, does Zach Oliver have maybe a leg up because he's a senior? He also brings a good physical presence under center as well.
Well, he's got a leg up because he's got one start underneath his belt, right? It's one more than the other two. And he's got more experience from that standpoint, JR. But we're not going to base our decision on that. We're going to base our decision on the analytical aspect of it. That's rep by rep. And it's going to be the leadership. It's going to be all the things I've talked about over and over. And then ultimately, it's going to come down to who do we believe at a minimum in the opener is going to go out and move the football for us, score touchdowns, and make our football team better because he's on the field. I'm not ready to make that decision yet. And I think all three have a skill set. I think all three want the job. All three are leading. All three are doing all those things. And, we got 2 days in shorts of analytics through camp. So no one's separated themselves at this point. But, I'm happy and pleased with what they're doing and how they're doing it. It's not three guys against each other. I think it's three guys trying to be the best to make the team better. And to me, that's probably the hallmark of all three guys.
Does going into the season with a relatively inexperienced quarterback, no matter who it is, put more pressure on Justin in the running game?
I think from a standpoint of the quarterback situation that we're in, we've been here before. And so I think it gives us confidence in our plan on how we've gone about it. I do believe we've got some pretty solid weapons around the quarterback that can take some pressure off of him. Anytime you can run the football, I don't care if you're Peyton Manning or going to be a first-time starter at Northwestern. It gives you a great opportunity then, I think, to have some advantages as far as what we're doing schematically. So, yeah, being able to have the balance that we were able to evolve to last year, having the running game and playing physical football, I think can really help our quarterbacks out.
Pat, there's been so much conversation about Christian Jones and what he can bring to the offense. Is there any concern that he might, that you might have to hold him back a little bit and progress him at a proper pace?
Yeah, absolutely, Fred. We talked, actually, I think it was yesterday morning, CJ and I, and I'm not going to go over everything we discussed, but one of the things is, how did you deal with your injury? Again, getting ready now to start camp. How did you deal with everything? And, I shared my kind of testimonial with him and how I worked through things. And, he knows we're going to kind of put him on that pitch count, so to speak. He is going to be limited by design here early on. And that has nothing to do with anything else than bringing you along. It's the medical team's plan. It's not the coach's plan. And we'll kind of work through that. We go a couple days and he feels great, then we'll let him go a third day, and so on and so forth. And we'll let his body, as we move forward, kind of determine where things are at. But just to have him back in the mix, you guys that have interviewed him probably heard him talk about all the things he saw kind of being external a little bit from being on the field. To bring that element, I think, to the practice field, the leadership that he brings, and obviously the skill set, it's great to have someone like him, back in the mix.
Are you guys committed to one starting quarterback, or is the option of a 1A, 1B type of deal just as likely? Yeah,
if you add Lloyd and TJ, we can go 5 deep, if you ask the defense, we'll do whatever it takes. But no, we'll do what's right for the team. In the past, we've had one quarterback. In the past, we've won a lot of football games with two. I think ideally, the ideal situation is you have 1A and 1B. You've got the starter and you've got a young man who's ready to go in no matter what happens. And we'll kind of see how that evolves. We've had that, when you look back to the Bichets and the Persa eras and the, Kafka eras, we kind of had that. And even last year with Trev, we kind of had another guy ready to go. It's kind of 1B. He gets all the reps, operates like he's a starter, even though he's, in the eyes of the depth chart, he's the number 2. He's still operating like he's the guy.
No Teddy here, so I'll do the 2-part question. True or false? You're attempting to. I did do it.
I didn't zing him for the record. All right, Fred? That's not me.
I had heard that you're attempting to get the quarterback battle resolved fairly early into camp. Is that true?
Yeah, I tried to have it done yesterday. It didn't work. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, I think I said it at the kickoff and meant it. I would have loved to have that accomplished in spring ball. It just didn't happen. There was no, let's say Zach had a good day and the other two guys were okay. Then the next day, all of a sudden, the two guys stepped. It was just kind of going back and forth as you went through the battle. And so we'll see where things are at right now. Again, they're not going to get hit in practice anyways this fall camp, but at the same time, they're going to be put and stressed into situations where it's game-like, and how they respond to those things, and probably more important, the other 10 guys around them, how they respond, will be a very large determining factor in where we go, at least to start the season.
And then the completely unrelated question with that is, what do you see for Justin Jackson this year?
Well, I see him obviously as a sophomore from a standpoint that he's been in the weight room now for one season, off season. Everything he did last year was really without competing in spring ball in a winter workout session. So really liked what I saw from him, the way he handled his rehab, the way that he handled himself in the weight room. Are we going to put him out there every rep in preseason camp? Of course we're not. We're gonna manage his reps. Coming off an injury from last off season, but I like the depth there. I like the depth there. I think we've got playmakers in that room. And I look forward to watching to see how all those pieces, Chris, come together and how those guys, frankly, earn roles as we go through camp.
Very general question. Is this program trending upwards right now?
It probably depends on who you ask. I'm sure you get – absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think we're in a place from a standpoint, if you take out – wins and losses, I don't think we've ever been in a better place. And I think if you look at our wins and losses, there's a terrific room for upside. So, it just depends on what you want to do. You want to evaluate 12 days or you want to evaluate 365 days. And I understand the evaluation on myself as a coach and on the wins and losses are obviously what upsets all of us, that we're not where we want to be from that standpoint. But from a program standpoint, I don't think we've been in a better place. Support from the administration, about ready to embark and move in things facility-wise. If you go up on campus, you can see that, the practice fields are already, I think, graded out. The field hockey team's already practicing up there. So, we've got a lot of great momentum going on there. Some really neat things going on academically, but from a standpoint on the field, I mean, there's nobody more disappointed in our record the last 2 years than I am. But you don't look at that from a negative. I think you look at that from obviously a positive and a motivator. So I don't know. I mean, if you're Twitter, I don't know. You talking about us, man? We're trending. We're trending up. So it depends on where we're going.
Just a follow-up question on that. What are you doing specifically as a coach to change those on the field results? Like, are you changing as a coach still?
What do you mean changing?
Like, are you doing things to still evolve as a coach, or like are you?
Oh yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't follow your question. Yeah, I don't think you ever change. I ever stop changing, I should say. I think you always. I mean, I just remember when I took over the role, and one of the first guys I talked to was Joe Paterno, and Joe had been doing it, I think, for 100 years when I talked to him at that time, and. I said, how long do you think you're going to do it, Coach? And he's like, I'm still learning. I mean, I think you learn from your players every day. I think you learn from, there were some things I saw last night just doing some research that I'll share with the team today. I think that's an ever-evolving thing. I don't think that ever stops. Yeah. If it does, I'll probably step aside, go coach some grade school football,
Fitz, do you think with the quarterback situation, can you afford to take a couple of steps back if a player has the potential and sometimes they need to fail to take that bigger step forward, or does it have to be rep by rep, game by game?
That's a great question, Peggy. I think you can get caught up too much in the day-to-day, rep by rep. We're not going to do that. We're going to take a look at a couple days of evaluation. And, again, I think if you're out maybe watching a practice and a quarterback has a bad 7-on-7 series, you're like, oh, he's out of it, if you're a fan. We have no chance with him. What are we going to do? Sean's not playing a match. Oh, my gosh, the sky is falling. What are we going to – that's just not the way that it is, though, in reality. Anytime you've got a competitive situation, you've got an opportunity for those guys all to compete against themselves first and pushing each other is going to make them better. And they're going to fail a bunch in practice. And that's the best part of our game. If we put them in the right situations, that is going to be a big component. What happens when all of a sudden now I – go through some different series and I throw the guys out there and I say, all right, sudden change. And now all of a sudden Zach goes out there and has the offense. Does he go move the ball and score? Because that's big time. You get a turnover, we're going to go down and score points. Or then I say, all right, whatever, we're down 2 scores. Go out there now, Zach. Let's see what we do. Does he start pressing, start taking chances? So, all those types of situations you try to emulate in practice. We already started that in spring ball. It'll continue to evolve even more so. and then we'll see how it goes in the fall. I mean, the one thing I don't want to have the guys ever feel is that this rep is going to be the make or break rep. That's. I think that's a little bit of a sign of an immature player. I was that guy. I remember what it was like as a young player and not having a lot of confidence. And I was, I call them coach watchers. Did I do it right? Did I do that right? What did I do wrong? Just go play. Just go play and let's see where it's at and let us coach you up. And I'd rather have him err on the side of being aggressive and trying to make plays within the framework of what we're asking him to do instead of being afraid to fail. And I think if you're afraid to fail, you're going to lose a job. You're going to lose the job. That's just going to happen. It doesn't matter if you're the quarterback or the kicker. You're going to lose the job.
The strongest points on your team right now be your senior defensive line?
Yeah, I think, JR, I think that group in the secondary, I think from an experience standpoint, I like that group. I like the D-line where they're at. I told the D-line and the DBs when we started in January, our team has got to have the personality of your two position groups, and you two have to take over. And I wanted the DBs to go be more active with our wide receivers, and I wanted our D-line to be more active with our O-line. So no longer was it the O-line against the D-line. We intermixed them, and there was competition amongst those groups. Same thing with the DBs and the wide receivers. And I think those relationships and that competition really helped both groups from a standpoint of the offense. And hopefully we'll continue to have that type of competitive nature as we go through with being smart teammates.
Back to Justin for a second.
Sure.
So last year, while everybody was kind of hyping him up, you were saying, well, there are still some things he can improve on. And I think you talked a lot about pass blocking in particular. Have you seen improvement in those areas?
Well, not yet. We're first day in pads. We've worked the fundamental, we've worked the technique. He's done a good job with the fundo and technique. But now when Anthony Walker comes on four-field pressure, he's going to step up and take on a 240-pound linebacker when we ask him to do that. From a protection standpoint, he knows what he needs to work on. Just like Solomon, just like Austin, just like Warren. They all know what they need to work on. They all have things that they're working on every single day, and I look forward to watching him. I talked to him last night about the improvement mentality. We've got 20 couple days, and if we can kind of improve 1%, one rep every day, it's something that maybe is an area of our game we need to improve on. We're going to be that much better collectively as a group. You do the math with 110 guys, we got a chance to really improve as a football team over camp. And it's kind of our mindset. It's always been our mindset around here, is just continually improving and embracing that process of that. And that's embracing that grind, of camp. And that's first day in pads. But when are we back together? Monday?
As this group?
Yeah.
We have availability Friday afternoon.
Yeah, so I'll know a little bit more then, how guys respond to things, and then obviously the next time we get together.
In a competition that hasn't gotten quite as much attention, do you have any idea who's going to be out there at outside linebacker?
Again, we're in shorts. As I look across the front right now, running with the ones right now are Jalen, Anthony, and Drew. I think Joe Jones is a guy that has had a really good spring and really good offseason. Brett Walsh, same thing. I liked what Cam Cabro's done over the last couple of days. He's really improved. Him and Nate Hall have jumped out to me, those two young guys, that some of the things that we talked about throughout spring and the habits that they had, especially at that position. I have a little bit of an issue with that position, as you can imagine. Some things that I just couldn't stand in their game, they really worked on throughout the summer. And it's just little things, stance, start, how they carry themselves, the way their effort is, their angles to the ball, things that kind of go unseen and untalked about. But I like the group. I think we've got better depth there than I maybe thought we had starting spring ball.
Just to reiterate and follow up from Big Ten Media Day, the hashtags for the armchair quarterbacks and the armchair coaches out there are...
For the record, that was you who said that, not me. I didn't say armchair. That was you.
Well, the critics.
Oh, okay, sure, whatever.
Well, I'll just go with the critics. In order to deflect or to, take the criticism away from the players and direct it more towards you, the hashtags are do this fits and WT fits.
Yeah, well, the second one's for after the game. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sure, absolutely. Or if I wear the wrong shirt, whatever you want to do, embrace it, man. Embrace it. Have fun with it. I just want to have fun. I mean, I think sometimes we take ourselves a little bit too serious and need to get over a little bit. And if you can't laugh at yourself, who can you laugh at, right? And, have I evolved as a coach? I don't know. I went from a 34 to a 38. Yeah, I've evolved. I mean, that's the way it goes. To answer your question directly, you win you go to 5 straight bowl games, and the questions that go this way. You have a couple. That's the way it is. And if you can't embrace that, you shouldn't be in this type of business on my side. But from a player standpoint, these are young guys that are learning. they're trying to grow up. They're going to college. They do some really, really good things, and they do some things like WTA, whatever. You know, I mean, what are you doing? You know, but I've been by design, and this is from the guys that I was mentored by. You know, you're going to rarely hear me walk in here and ever drive the bus over a player, okay? Because I was a guy that missed a tackle. I was a guy that didn't pay attention to meetings, you know, and I watched the coach get lambasted for it, and I felt terrible about it. You know, I saw a little bit before the season, one of our guys shared, I saw what Vic did, you know, a couple days ago about the personnel decision. I mean, I think that's big time from a coach. You know, and that's my role. My role is to protect these guys, teach them, coach them up, help them be the best they can be. And if this will have our fans have a little bit more fun, you know, whatever. Let's go do it. But you know, at the end of the day, too, you know, let's have fun with it. You know, and we'll figure it out.
Following up the idea of not taking things so seriously. Yeah. I mean, everybody is kind of waiting for the depth chart to come out to see who the quarterback, right, 1A, 1B.
Sure.
I mean, how serious how much seriousness should we treat a depth chart?
I think early right now, I don't think I'd treat it very, very high. I mean, you know, you look at the preseason NFL games and you go, who's what's like? I mean, you know, you're going to limit guys in camp. There's going to bumps and bruises. You know, we're gonna give guys veteran days, you know, that have been in the program for a while and rest them. You know, like when I was in training camp as a player, we did 3-a-days, and you know, the whole question is why did you do that? Well, you weren't here the whole summer. You know, you weren't. Very few guys stayed the whole summer, and then that kind of evolved as players. We did that in the mid-'90s. You started staying. We weren't told to. You just decided, you know what? That's what we heard they're doing in Ann Arbor. So if they're staying all summer, we got to stay all summer. You know, it's that whole competitive side to it. And that's where it's evolved to today that, you know, we give our guys a week off, and we got a couple guys that come back with some dings because they worked out with their personal trainer back home. And it's like, you know, that wasn't the plan, and now look what you've done. You've set yourself behind. It's just kind of where we're at right now, I think, in society. It's I need to do more, I need to do more, I need to do more. And sometimes that's not the best thing to do. And, you know, with the depth chart, that's where I'm getting at. It's fluid, you know, this time of the year. And, you know, I've always philosophically approached things that if guys are close, I'm going to play them both or play all three. I'm not talking about the quarterback situation here, obviously, because I haven't played three. But, you know, most other positions, if they're close and there's not a clear-cut starter, you know, Saturday could be a big evaluator too, especially as you're going still with where we're at right now from non-conference and the start of the season. You know, you're not diminishing those games, but you hope to be a great team as you move into league play because you're going to know a lot more about yourself. You know, there's no European tour. You know, there's no preseason games. You know, you show up, and obviously the one we've got in the opener is going to be a terrific challenge for us. So we're going to know where we're at right away.
Fitz, that Gator Bowl season is not that long ago, and not a lot had to go wrong in order to dramatically change that win total. What needs to go right to just kind of get back to where you guys were?
Yeah, well, I think, number one, playing our style of ball. You know, you look back at those 5 years, I think we went 18-2 or something like that in non-conference games. We got to start fast. You know, we haven't done that per se the last few years. You know, we've won close games. You know, we're going to be in close games. We can already get over that. That's going to happen. And the things that you do in those times, and we've done comprehensive studies. And again, I'm not trying to discredit our opponent, but the thing that frustrates me as the coach is that you look at ourselves. When we lost, we beat ourselves. And they made some plays too. I'm not minimizing our opponents, but we beat ourselves. Fumbling the ball, quarterback center exchange, not punting the ball properly, not proper cover lanes. You know, the guy that's not supposed to jump. You know, do we do enough? You know, you look at yourself first as a coach, and do we not do enough of these reps and put them in these situations? Then you beat yourself up. You create a solution and you go attack it. But I think we're much closer, you know, than maybe our record indicates. And you know, you guys that have covered us, I mean, it's, you know, I can maybe count on two fingers, 2 games the last 2 years that I'm bitterly disappointed that I really truly feel like as a program we didn't show up. You know, in all the other games we had every opportunity to win those games, and we got to find a way to win those games, and we've done it, and we know how to do it, and we just got to teach our younger guys that maybe weren't here, but the Lowrys, the Henrys, those guys that were on the field, the Van Hooses, I can go on and on with more names, that were out there on those close wins when we had it kind of as a hallmark. Those guys have to be the bell cow, so to speak, and out in front when we're in those situations. And, you know, I like what they've done so far. I really feel good about where the attitude's at and where they've worked, how hard they worked.
Hey, Coach. defensive tackle, you got McEvely's retired now, and Lancaster and Kuhar coming off injuries, and Wyatt's out for Stanford. I mean, how do you feel about that position overall, and do you think any of the young guys are ready to step up?
Yeah, again, Louis, young guys first. I mean, we're in pads today, so probably answer that a little bit better for you once the O-line actually hits them, today and as we go through a couple of days. I feel great about that depth up there. I think you saw some things in the spring. We're not afraid to create solutions. So we've got plenty of answers up there, we hadn't had Sean in 2 years. That's the unfortunate aspect, right, for Sean. And so from that standpoint, we had to operate from a depth standpoint in the spring, not having him again. Kind of what are we doing with this depth? What are we doing contingency plan to put some guys in situations, getting ready for the big, not only playing the Big Ten gauntlet, but also who we're playing non-conference wise. But I feel great about that group. I wouldn't have put that on. I want this group's attitude to take over the team on the D-line unless I felt great about that group. And, CJ's three. I think the weights are off. Did you give him the depth chart? Yeah, I mean, the weights were off. I chuckle a little bit, but like CJ's 305, Lanny's 3-something, Ben's 290, Prater's 270, Fred's 275, Dean's 290. I mean, we got plenty of size up there. I'm not worried about our size. I'm not worried about our toughness. I'm not worried about our strength at all.
You alluded a few moments ago, to the challenges of the first game. What are some of the pros and cons of having an opponent the caliber of a Stanford as your opener?
Well, from a motivation standpoint, there's not a whole lot I need to say. The guys understand the challenge. They understand, and respect the team that we're playing, and not that we haven't in the past. I mean, we've been pretty darn good in openers over my time, but the guys, obviously, it reminds me back when we got ready to play Notre Dame. You knew who you were playing. We know we're playing a nationally televised game, and that opportunity obviously presents, just that. It presents a great opportunity for us. But we've got to put in the work ethic. We got to put in the time, and we got to earn it, and we got to earn the right to be prepared for that opportunity. And I think the guys are really embracing that. So from a motivation standpoint, I think it helps them be highly motivated every day.
We've got time for a few more. I'm delaying the football staff meeting right now. So,
Pat, what are the steps that have to take place for you guys to reach a maturity level as a team that you'd want that maybe wasn't there at times last year?
Yeah, Adam, I think we're down that road already. We're not starting going down that road. I think that started in January, and that's a credit to our leadership council. It's a credit, like I said, to a bunch of those names that have been here for a while and been a part of a lot of success and knocking on the door to potentially be competitive for a championship in this league, and then have been a part of this team that, in my opinion, has underachieved. And they know what it takes, and it starts in the locker room, and it's inside out. And if we get the attitude in the right spot and the chemistry in the right spot, which I think to today we're where we've been in the past. Now comes the adversity, right? We get some guys that maybe get banged up and bruised, and maybe that presents another opportunity for somebody to step up. But then comes the adversity in game too, and how those things evolve. So, we'll put them through a bunch this camp. We'll put them through a bunch as much as we possibly can, with obviously being smart with it and knowing what we have in the opener. But I think we're already down. We're further down the road right now than we were maybe, definitely last year at this time.
Last year had the season that he did, but how much this year are you going to dip into the depth chart and use guys like Warren Long and Austin Anderson? How excited are you about those guys?
Yeah, Solomon Vault, that whole group. I've even liked what Johnny Moten's done for a couple days. I like the group. Like I said, we've got competitive depth there. Not only, offensively, it's players, formations, plays. Who are our best 11, 12? Shoot, it would be great to get to 25 guys if we had that amount of weaponry. I'm not ready to say that, but at the same time, the more guys that we can play, the better. It's a long season, and I like the skill set. I think Warren's a big physical guy. I think Solomon, you got a little bit of a snapshot of him last year, he's an explosive athlete, does a lot of things well. And you guys fell in love with Austin, just by putting a microphone in front of him in the spring. So I don't think he had any carries those days, and you're like, oh, this is the greatest guy ever. So. He's learning. He's a redshirt freshman. He's learning. So it'll be fun to watch that group progress. But you never have enough, right? You never have enough at that position.
Some of the upperclassmen were saying they can feel a sense of urgency to win. Obviously their careers are flashing by real quick. Where do you feel the urgency to win? Where does it come from for you?
Well, I think, Peggy, it's every day. That's my role. My role is to create that sense of urgency in the entire program. It's everything that we do. you know, I look at it more of a big picture than you got to make the big thing small. But I look at the big picture standpoint. To your question earlier, where are we at as a program? I really like where we're at as a program and everything but our win total. I love where we're at, and I think that again starts with the guys. But from a standpoint of the urgency, if your seniors have that sense, then they're going to bring everybody along with them. And that goes back to that love of the game. It goes back to having the team be the most important aspect of what we're doing. And that's what I see from that group right now. I mean, we've had 2 leadership council members speak to the team so far, 2 team meetings with Travion and Dean Lowry. And they've been right on. They talked about the 2 cornerstones of our program, and they couldn't have been more right on about where we're at and where we need to go and kind of follow me. I'm not going to talk it. I'm going to walk it and follow my lead and holding each other accountable and all those things. That's how you kind of create that bond of trust that when it gets hard, which it's going to in life and in football, you can fight through the things and come out with a win. And that's what I anticipate we'll do this year.
Got time for 2 more, Henry and then Jim.
Last year, after the 0-2 start, some of the leadership council members came to you and said that they wanted you to be harder on them. And then after that, practices got more intense with all the up-downs and stuff. Is that something that we're going to see right away? Like, is that carrying over into camp this year? Like,
yeah, I think it had a little bit more to do with our focus issue. Going back to Adam's question about maturity, we had a lot of guys that were immature a year ago. And it got to a point where when we started talking about solutions, that was some of the things that we had that, collective decision that this is what we need to do. Now, I can do it from my perspective. I can run your rear ends off and make you, go paint. I can make you do whatever you want me to do. It doesn't matter what I want. What do you guys want? That's kind of how it goes about on a team. So if it's going to be me against you, it's not going to be real fun around here. And I like to have fun, and winning's fun. So how can I get guys to focus more than they're focusing right now? It went from a standpoint where I think the maturity of our team, we're a high-energy practice, up-tempo practice, kind of upbeat, you guys that have been out to it, and it went from being upbeat about what's going on here to kind of being the class clown. And that needed to be focused in, and the guys asked for more help. They felt like they weren't able to get it done by themselves in a locker room, and previous groups were able to do that. So I appreciate the communication. It's one thing from my perspective. It's much more stronger from a peer-to-peer perspective. So I like where that's at. But from a standpoint right now where we're at, I haven't had to yet. We had to a little bit in the spring, when the guys kind of lost some focus a little bit, but not to this point. But again, we're 2 days in, Henry. I mean, we'll see where things go.
So do you think like last year, like in Kenosha, like was it too relaxed or no?
No. Oh, absolutely not. No. I think from a standpoint of what we were dealing with in camp, we had a lot of guys that were banged up, weren't able to practice the way we wanted to, from a tempo standpoint and a rep standpoint. I was going through each year, like I go through kind of my last 3 years of notes, and I went through the practice plans from last year. And I went, oh my gosh. Just from a standpoint, we couldn't practice a lot, and you're going through and you go back to the previous 2 years and you go, wow, we lost a lot of reps last year, and it's the balance, how many guys you got out compared to what you need to get done. And, if I would have got up here and been totally honest with you, I probably would have looked at you and been like, Henry, you know what? Not sure we're ready to rock right now, but we're kicking off on Saturday at 11. Make sure you put that on your site. It's not what you do. You just kind of keep grinding along, and you got to use a lot of reps. And, I don't think we were ready probably until maybe Big Ten play when we finally got some depth back to where when a guy dropped the ball, it was like, all right, you're out, okay? No longer you're out. We're putting somebody else in instead of, hey, look through the triangle. We were working. It was that elementary with some guys, and sometimes you got to do that.
Pat, you became head football coach in 2006. You've had a football journey long before that, but I'm interested to know, have you had a chance to think back over the last 9 years of what your football journey has been like, both professionally and personally?
Yeah, I think personally it's been a blast. When the transition, I didn't grow up wanting to be a coach. I heard this from Chris Collins, great line. I didn't grow up wanting to be a coach. I grew up wanting to be a player. I totally agree with him. I dreamed of being, Mike Singletary or Walter Payton or somebody. That's what I wanted to be. And then when they tell you you're not good enough, it's like, that was devastation. It's an anvil dropped on your chest, and you had to make a decision pretty quick. And I'm blessed that I was able to transition and become gainfully employed pretty quick. And then it's like, okay, thanks for the opportunity, but I want to coach. I knew I wanted to do that in high school, but then to kind of get into and be able to be at a Power 5 level and just very blessed with the mentors that I've had and things of that nature. And so you kind of focused on you when you start, right, professionally. And then all of a sudden you get into it. And you almost feel selfish from a standpoint of the impact that the young men have on you. You know, and I've watched not only as a position coach for the years that I had, now as a head coach, and you put that all together and see what guys are doing professionally. Guys getting married, having families coming back. I mean, Q Davey was here yesterday with Deerfield High School, and little Q Juniors with him, you know, and dressed like a Hulk. And he's like, "Dad, that's Coach," you know. And it's like, Q, come on, man, you're the coach. You know, just those types of things. I think that's where it blends professionally and personally, where it's just the impact that you're able to have on young people's lives. I think is what makes this profession so special. And you know, I get the questions about where's the program. You know, yeah, I want to win every game. I mean, nobody wants to win more than I do, but I'm more concerned with preparing people for life. And I think when you go through that process, that's why you win, and that's how you win football games. And you know, unfortunately, we haven't gotten to that point. But I truly believe we're the best player development staff in the country, on the field, off the field, in life, academically. Our staff does a great job. Our support staff does a terrific job. The university, I mean, what Jim has done as far as improving the student-athlete experience, and Morty, I mean, it's unbelievable what we do for the guys here. And is it perfect? No. Will it be better tomorrow than it is today? I hope so, because that's where it's trending. You know, I think it's just getting better and better.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks, guys. Go Cats.